Welcome to Talk About It in English. I am Sarah, and I am here with Jack. Today we are tackling a problem that many of our listeners face. You have been studying English for a few years. You know the grammar rules, you know your vocabulary lists, and you can understand quite a lot. But when you stand up in a room full of people or walk into a new office and someone says, "Tell me a bit about yourself," you feel like you sound like a 10-year-old student. You use the phrases from your first ever textbook, and even though the English is correct, it doesn't feel like you. It doesn't match your professional life, your age, or your personality.
That is exactly right, Sarah. I see this all the time with my students who are in their late 20s or 30s. They are successful professionals in their own countries, but in English, they say things like, "My hobby is swimming," or "I am a manager." It is very simple English, and while it gets the job done, it doesn't build a connection. It feels a bit robotic and a bit childish. If you want to build real relationships and talk about your life in a natural way, you need to move past those beginner traps.
Today, we are going to show you exactly how to do that. We are going to identify the phrases that are holding you back and give you the sophisticated alternatives that will make you sound like a peer and a professional. If you want to start speaking about your real life instead of just repeating grammar exercises, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. We help you build the English you actually need for your job, your social life, and your travels every single week. Now, let's get into our first beginner trap, which is how we talk about our free time.
This is a big one. Think back to your very first English class. You probably learned the phrase, "My hobby is." Sarah, when was the last time you heard a native speaker say, "My hobby is," in a casual conversation?
Almost never, Jack. Unless I am filling out a very formal form or taking a very specific type of exam, I would never say, "My hobby is gardening." It sounds very stiff and a bit like I am reading from a list. In the real world, adults don't really use the word hobby when they're talking to friends or colleagues. It feels a bit like a school assignment.
So what should we say instead? If I love photography, how do I say that without sounding like a student?
Instead of saying, "My hobby is photography," try saying, "I am really into photography." That phrase, "to be into something," is incredibly common among adults. It shows that you have an active interest. You could also say, "I've been spending a lot of time on my photography lately." This is much more natural because it links your interest to your actual life right now. It's not just a general fact, it's a description of how you spent your Tuesday evening.
I love that. I've been spending a lot of time on. It sounds much more like a real person. Let's look at another example. Many people say, "I like music," but that's so broad, isn't it? Everyone likes music. If you want to sound more sophisticated, you should be more specific about how you engage with that interest.
Exactly. Instead of "I like music," you could say, "I'm a big music fan," or more specifically, "I've been listening to a lot of jazz recently." Notice how we're using the present perfect continuous there. I have been listening. This tells the other person what is happening in your life lately. It gives them something to actually talk to you about. If you say, "I like music," the conversation usually stops. If you say, "I've been listening to a lot of old jazz records lately," the other person can ask, "Oh, which ones?" Or, "Do you have a favorite artist?"
That is a great tip for keeping the conversation going. Let's practice that together. Listen to this sentence. "I am really into hiking." Now you try repeating that after me. I am really into hiking. Make sure you link the words together. I'm really into. It should sound like one smooth flow of air. Try it again. I'm really into hiking.
Now let's try the other pattern. I have been spending a lot of time cooking lately. Listen to the rhythm there. I have been spending a lot of time. Repeat that after me. I have been spending a lot of time cooking lately. This sounds like an adult talking about their weekend, not a student reading a list. Take a moment today to think about one thing you enjoy doing. Try to put it into that sentence. I have been spending a lot of time on my painting, or I have been spending a lot of time at the gym lately.
That brings us to our second major trap, which is how we talk about our work. Most beginners learn the phrase, "I am a," followed by their job title. I am an accountant. I am a teacher. I am an engineer. While this is grammatically perfect, it is a bit dry. It describes your title, but it doesn't describe your life.
Right, and for many of us, our job title is a bit complicated, or maybe it doesn't even exist in English exactly the same way it does in our own language. Instead of just giving a title, it is much more natural to talk about the field you work in, or the things you handle every day. I use the word handle a lot when I talk about my work. I might say, I handle the marketing for a small tech company. That sounds so much more professional than saying, I am a marketing person. It really does. Another great phrase is, I am in the field of. For example, I am in the field of education. This gives the other person a broad idea of your world. Or you can say, I am on the team at, followed by your company name. I am on the design team at a local agency. This sounds collaborative and modern. It shows you are part of a professional environment. Let's look at the difference. Jack, what do you do? Version 1, I am a software developer. Version 2, I work in software development, specifically on the mobile app side of things. Sarah, which one sounds more like a colleague you want to grab a coffee with? Definitely the second one. Using the phrase, the side of things, is a very natural way to narrow down what you actually do. I work in finance, mostly on the auditing side of things. It sounds sophisticated, and it shows you know the nuances of your industry. Let's practice some of those work phrases. Repeat after me. I work in marketing. Now let's try the more detailed version. I work in marketing, mostly on the social media side of things. Listen to how I say side of things. It is very fast. Side of things. Repeat that. Side of things. The whole sentence now. I work in marketing, mostly on the social media side of things. Another excellent phrase for professionals is I am responsible for. This is perfect for when you want to show your level of seniority without sounding like you are bragging. Instead of saying, I am a manager, try saying, I am responsible for a team of 10 people, or I am responsible for the budget in my department. It tells people what you actually do with your 8 hours every day. Let's try that one. I am responsible for. Repeat after me. I am responsible for the daily operations. Again, I am responsible for the daily operations. This is a very useful phrase to have in your pocket for any networking event. It immediately lifts your level from a student to a professional peer. Try to use this today. Think about your main task at work and say, I am responsible for, followed by that task. Now, let's talk about a trap that happens at the very beginning of a conversation. Someone asks, how are you? Or how's it going? And almost every learner in the world says, I am fine, thank you. And you? Jack, why is this a trap for adults? Because it is a conversation killer. I am fine, thank you is what we say to a stranger who accidentally bumps into us on the street. It is very polite, but very cold. It doesn't invite any more conversation. As adults, our lives are usually a bit more complex than just fine. Exactly. We want to sound like we have a life that is moving and changing. A much more natural way to answer is to use phrases like keeping busy, or can't complain, or even a bit hectic but good. These show a bit of personality. Can't complain is one of my favorites. It implies that things are generally good, even if they aren't perfect. It feels very relaxed. Sarah, how would you use hectic but good in a real sentence? If a colleague asks how I am doing, I might say, oh, a bit hectic but good. We have a big deadline coming up, but the weather is finally nice. See what I did there? I gave a tiny piece of information about my work and a tiny piece of information about the world. This gives the other person a hook to continue the conversation. That is the key word, a hook. You want to give the other person something to catch onto. If you say I am fine, there is no hook. If you say things are a bit hectic at work, the other person can ask, oh, what are you working on? Let's practice some of these natural responses. Repeat after me. Can't complain. Again, can't complain. Now try keeping busy. It is a very common way to say I have a lot going on, but I am handling it. Repeat, keeping busy. And let's try the one with a bit more detail. A bit hectic, but good. Repeat, a bit hectic, but good. Notice the rhythm. A bit hectic, but good. This brings us to another area where adults often sound like students, and that is talking about where they live. Beginners often just give the name of the city. I live in Madrid. I live in Tokyo. But usually when people ask where you live, they are interested in the vibe of your neighborhood. I love that word, vibe. It is such a useful word for adults. It means the feeling or the atmosphere of a place. Instead of just saying the city name, you can talk about what it is like to live there. Is it quiet? Is it lively? Is it walkable? Walkable is such a great adjective for our target audience. Many people in their 20s and 30s value being able to walk to shops and cafes. Instead of saying, I live in a house in Madrid, try saying, I live in a really walkable neighborhood in Madrid. It is quite lively at night. Or if you live outside the city, you could say, I live in a fairly quiet area just outside the center. It is great for getting some fresh air. Using words like fairly, quite, or really helps to add nuance to your English. It shows you aren't just using the simplest words possible.
Let's practice that. Repeat after me. It is a very walkable neighborhood. Again, it is a very walkable neighborhood. Now try, it is a fairly quiet area. Repeat, it is a fairly quiet area. And one more, it is quite lively on the weekends. Repeat, it is quite lively on the weekends.
When you describe your home or your area, try to add one personal opinion. The best part about living there is the park nearby, or it can be a bit noisy because of the traffic, but I love the location. These small additions make you sound like a real person with real experiences.
Now, Sarah, we should probably address the way we mix all of these things together. An introduction is not just a series of facts, it is a story. And one thing that makes students sound like children is that they only use the present simple tense. I live here. I work there. I like this.
That is a very important point, Jack. Adults have a past and a future. To sound sophisticated, you should try to mix your tenses. Talk about what you used to do or what you are planning to do. This shows a much higher level of English without needing incredibly difficult vocabulary.
For example, instead of just saying, I work at marketing, you could say, I worked in sales for 5 years, but now I have moved into marketing. That simple use of, but now I have moved into, shows a career path. It shows growth.
Or with your hobbies, you could say, I used to play a lot of tennis, but lately I have been getting into yoga. This shows that your interests change and evolve, which is what happens in adult life. It is much more interesting to talk to someone who can describe their journey.
Let's practice that transition. I used to, but now I. Repeat after me. I used to work in sales, but now I am in marketing. Again, I used to work in sales, but now I am in marketing. Now let's try it with a hobby. I used to play tennis, but lately I have been getting into yoga. Repeat. I used to play tennis, but lately I have been getting into yoga.
This is the kind of English that builds relationships. It gives people a sense of who you are. Now, we have covered a lot of ground today. We have looked at hobbies, work, greetings, and our living situations. I think it is time for a shadowing exercise, where we put it all together into a complete, sophisticated introduction.
I agree. This is the part where you can really train your mouth muscles. Remember, it is not just about knowing the words in your head. It is about your mouth being comfortable saying them. We are going to listen to a natural, adult-style introduction first. Just listen to the flow and the tone.
Here is the sample. Actually, I'm in the field of graphic design. I work for a small agency, mostly on the branding side of things. It's been pretty hectic lately, but I've been enjoying the challenge. In my free time, I've been spending a lot of time outdoors. I'm really into hiking, and I've been trying to explore a few new trails every weekend. I live in a fairly quiet neighborhood just outside the city, which is great for getting some fresh air after a long day at work.
That sounds so much better than a list of facts. It feels like a real person. Let's break it down into smaller pieces for you to shadow. We will do each piece 3 times. First piece, I am in the field of graphic design. Repeat after me. I am in the field of graphic design. Again, I am in the field of graphic design. One more time. I am in the field of graphic design.
Second piece, mostly on the branding side of things. Repeat after me. Mostly on the branding side of things. Again, mostly on the branding side of things. Make sure to link side of things. One more time. Mostly on the branding side of things. Third piece, it has been pretty hectic lately. Repeat, it has been pretty hectic lately. Again, it has been pretty hectic lately. One more time, it has been pretty hectic lately. Fourth piece, but I have been enjoying the challenge. Repeat, but I have been enjoying the challenge. Again, but I have been enjoying the challenge. One more time, but I have been enjoying the challenge. Fifth piece, I have been spending a lot of time outdoors. Repeat, I have been spending a lot of time outdoors. Again, I have been spending a lot of time outdoors. One more time,
I have been spending a lot of time outdoors. Sixth piece, I am really into hiking. Repeat, I am really into hiking. Again, I am really into hiking. One more time, I am really into hiking. Seventh piece, I live in a fairly quiet neighborhood. Repeat, I live in a fairly quiet neighborhood. Again, I live in a fairly quiet neighborhood. One more time, I live in a fairly quiet neighborhood. Final piece, which is great for getting some fresh air. Repeat, which is great for getting some fresh air. Again, which is great for getting some fresh air. One more time, which is great for getting some fresh air.
Excellent work. If you find any of those phrases difficult to say, go back and listen to them again. Your mouth needs to get used to the rhythm of these longer, more sophisticated phrases. If you only practice short sentences, you will always sound like a beginner. You have to push yourself to use these adult-sized blocks of English. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. The goal is not to have a perfect accent. The goal is to have natural, clear patterns that native speakers recognize. When you use phrases like the side of things or I have been spending a lot of time on, you are using the same code as native speakers. It makes it much easier for them to understand you and for them to respond to you. One mistake I see often is that people try to learn very big academic words to sound smart. They use words like furthermore or nevertheless in a casual conversation. That actually makes you sound less natural. The secret to sounding sophisticated is not big words. It is using the right common phrases in the right way. That is so true, Jack. Using the word hectic is much better than using the word multifaceted in a conversation about your day. Hectic is a word we actually use. Multifaceted is a word we write in an essay. To talk about real life, you need real-life vocabulary. So what should our listeners do today? What is their first step to sounding more like an adult in English? I want you to do an introduction audit. Take the basic introduction you usually use. Maybe you wrote it down once or you just have it in your head. Look for those beginner traps. Do you say, my hobby is? Cross it out. Change it to, I am really into, or I have been spending time on. Do you say, I am a manager? Change it to, I am responsible for, or I work on the management side of things. That is a great exercise. Even just changing one or two phrases will completely change how people perceive your English. It moves you from being someone who is studying a language to someone who is actually living in that language. And that is the whole point of this channel. We want you to live your life in English. If you found this lesson helpful, please give it a like. It really helps us reach more learners like you who want to move past the textbook and into real conversations. And if you haven't subscribed yet, join our community. Every week we take a new topic from real life, work, family, travel, problems, and we give you the specific tools to talk about it with confidence. We also want to hear from you. In the comments, try using one of our new phrases. Tell us one thing you have been spending a lot of time on lately, or tell us what side of things you work on at your job. We read every comment, and it is a great way to practice your new, sophisticated English right now. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. Every professional you see speaking English started exactly where you are. The difference is they started using the phrases they heard around them instead of only the ones they saw in their school books. You have the ability to sound sophisticated. You just need to give yourself permission to stop being a student and start being a communicator. Practice that new introduction in front of the mirror today. Say it out loud 5 times. Get those mouth muscles moving. You will be amazed at how much more confident you feel the next time someone asks you, so what do you do? You are doing a great job. English is a tool for your life, so use it to talk about the things that matter to you. We are here to help you every step of the way. Keep practicing, keep talking about your life, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious and keep speaking. You've got this. Take care, everyone.